Hope that fixed our problem. Let's see if I'm back, and hopefully you are all still around and here to join. My great apologies for the difficulty in getting the connection established. Who might be with us this evening? Do we have any guests joining us this evening? Yes, great. So some folks are on. My apologies for this challenging start. And forgive me, the reception here is, there we go, got it. Matt and Ariel, thank you very much. You are determined, and I appreciate that. This is an odd situation that the whole of how Facebook has rearranged this must be part of the issue here, and then the connectivity just didn't go through. So it's probably good portion user error and a good portion of the change. So Susan's with us too. Good evening and hello. I'm hopeful this isn't going to be a major thorn in our sides this evening, but we have a lovely wine with us tonight, and I know a number of others of you are on the chat, so let's go ahead from there. Kestenbaums are with us. Happy Thursday. Yes, happy indeed. Thank you to you. As I'm getting set up here and more comments are coming in. Yeah, that's great. And Erica and Jen are with us tonight, which is great. And Susan, hello. How are you? It's very drinkable, Susan said. That's great. Tremendous. It is pretty expressive. Okay, well, I've kept us from getting started right off the bat, so please let me not hold us up any further. What do you smell? What do you see? What do you taste? Let's go through it. What do you see in this particular wine? Right off the bat, this wine showcases what kind of color and what other visuals are here that are obvious. Are there any bubbles? Is there anything floating in the wine? Is there anything that's indicating that there's some fault at play here? What viscosity does it present as it's running around the rim of the glass as you swirl it for the first or second time? What do you see by way of the formation there? So let's go through all those points, learn what we can about this wine. Right off the bat, of course, it's white. So a white wine, which we haven't had in too much time, and it has a pretty unique nose, or at least a pretty expressive nose. Yes, Olga, good evening, and yes, thank you. Pale Lemon, Rob and Kathy are home. Kathy and Shannon are on a road trip and watching from Ohio. That's tremendous, that's great. Rob, did they take your wine or did you get 2 bottles? Candy, welcome. And Susan, yes, gold, medium, and yes, there's a viscosity, exactly. There's a golden kind of hue to this. So a deeper color, it's not a light watery color, and it isn't kind of sheeting off quickly. There is a relative viscosity. The interesting part is that there's like very little in the way of legs for me. There is a full coating and then a receding of the entirety of the swirl down as opposed to a break in the legs, which is unique. I don't recall seeing that on too many particular wines. So Candy and Kevin listening on I-66. Oh, very good. That's great, Candy. And Kevin, drive carefully. We'll key you in, and you can certainly, when you get back, just get home, perhaps get a glass and enjoy the wine from that perspective. Robert, that's pretty cool that you got 2 bottles of wine. Yeah, there's it smelled a little bit like bubble gum for you, Candy. That's neat. There is there's sort of like, what was that called? Kind of the baseball card bubble gum when I was a kid, and it was coated in that powdered sugar. There's that sort of powdered sugar coating that I smell from the top of a bubble gum. And that's kind of coming out. There's also this yellow apple kind of thing that's popping out. um, of the nose. So you have this viscosity that's not super syrupy and maybe not indicative of a very ripe wine per se, or wine that has a lot of higher alcohol or residual sugar, but there is a consistent sheeting to it and a slow moving quality to the leg. I can't even say legs or tears, right? It's just this formation of a sheet, and it stays there. And yet it isn't so viscous that it breaks into tears. It just runs down the glass, which is really interesting. Susan's also picking up some honey and vanilla. So it's presenting some things that are kind of sweet in orientation potentially, but not necessarily smelling very, very sweet. There's some honeyed elements, right? As Susan points out, a vanilla quality, so there might be a little bit of an oak profile. There is that bubblegummy note. What else? So fruit, earth, wood, a few things. From the fruit side, I got a little bit of apple. Anybody else picking up any fruit? What do you think? It's really changing. Yeah, Candy, I agree. It is starting to change. Floral notes for Jan. There's a little citrusy lemon quality coming out for Susan. There's white flower on the floral side of things. Melon. There is okay, good. So we've got citrus qualities, we've got melon elements, we've got sort of a honeyed element. Yeah, there's citrus, but it's not like bright, vibrant citrus, is it? It's more, it's almost more peel, isn't it? More concentrated citrus. It doesn't smell like lemon juice or lime juice. It's more like lemon peel. And there's that floral note, and I'm still getting kind of that warm yellow apple, honeysuckle. That's nice. So a lot of these descriptors seem to be indicating maybe Viognier. So when you get some of that floral note, some of that honeyed note, that honeysuckle note, that's one varietal we can consider, and has a greater viscosity and oftentimes has a color profile that would indicate that. What else should we consider, guys? This is moving into, and this is a weird note, and this is like fried egg roll. There's a toasty note to this, like the rice paper that's been fried is presenting kind of in this, and almost that sort of soy cabbage kind of quality that can happen. I'm picking up a little bit of that. Like I said, a little bit weird and perhaps not necessarily what everybody will pick up on. And I don't know what that would tell me about a particular varietal, but the quality is there, hiding behind it. There's this kind of truffly element. There's an earthen kind of cabbagey, truffly element there that I'm kind of, that's just peeking through past the. You got to go past the apple, past the floral note, past the citrus note, and then there's just sort of something deep in the core. Is that a bit too bizarre? A green fennel note, Olga. Okay, cool. Green fennel. So very expressive. Yeah, there's a brininess and kind of an olive kind of note now. There's a seafood, kind of a sea spray, but seafood, grilled seafood element. This is a really fascinating wine. Wow. Candy's picking up on this apple honey thing for sure. And then there's not an acidic smell. And then there's a sweetness that comes and goes. There's the orange blossom element. So you're kind of describing in some ways Viognier. Like on paper, if you were to say that some of the things we've said, we would think Viognier. What I have described, those savory notes, I don't know that would be Viognier. So, wow, there's back to that fresh cut apple. And like when you go to a fall festival and they are pressing apples for cider, there's that kind of note. And it smells almost like the inside too of that yellow apple, where you get to smell and that burst of aroma that comes out when you kind of cut through or break into an apple or bite into the middle and the seeds are there. And this is really, really expressive. Erica, thank you. I think we might walk away from Viognier. And one of the things we'll look for as we're just identifying a potential varietal here, as opposed to just determining it based on the nose, will be what kind of acidity do we have, and could it be Viognier in the running? Sancerre, I don't know that we would get this. We would get citrus for sure. I'm not sure about the floral element. Some of that fennel element, though, for sure, we could kind of talk about that. Magnolia flower is coming in. This is more expressive. Oftentimes, though, when you smell, like what if we went a little bit further west? As opposed to Sancerre, we went into, say, Chenin Blanc and jumped into the Loire Valley or elsewhere with Chenin Blanc. We're always considering that. And that, again, from the kind of Viognier perspective, Chenin Blanc will showcase itself more than likely with the acidity. So Riesling, yeah, there could be a quality of Riesling here. There could be a viscosity that comes from a more dry Riesling. So again, we'll kind of assess that in just a minute as we taste it. So this is perfectly appropriate to put a number of different varietals forward as something that might be, right? So Riesling, Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, Sancerre, Viognier. Olga's defining this as definitely not Riesling. We have a not Sauvignon Blanc from Olga, not Pinot Gris. And McCarty's not picking up the egg roll thing, but a slightly pork fat. That's great. Okay. And I think I could go with you in a heartbeat, Olga, on some funny Italian grape, because it's got elements of things that we're recognizing in other varietals, but it's not exactly those varietals, and so it could be something else. And we've certainly had some fun ones. Albarino, it's possible. Would we get the same floral notes? I don't know about that. So let's taste this. Let's see what we can find and maybe help rule out. So more the deductive process as opposed to just landing exactly on what we're looking for. Interesting. Susan, thank you for that. Semillon blend. So Semillon Sauvignon Blanc, more than likely, as those are the two varietals that are often paired together in a Semillon blend. Muscadel, which might give us some of that aromatic profile, and that could be something that we were picking up here, and that's the third of a trio in terms of a Semillon blend. And so there's a warmth to this that's a little bit warmer, and mine's probably actually the wine itself that I'm consuming right now is probably not chilled thoroughly enough, so I might be getting biased as a result of that, or being shown a bit more. But it feels like a bit riper than a Semillon blend from Bordeaux, for example. So if we were drinking an Entre deux Mers, kind of simple, easygoing, more stainless steel or very, very neutral barrel production, I don't think we would get that, but something warmer. So as Jan's pointing out, maybe South American Semillon, perhaps like a Washington State Semillon Muscadel kind of blend. I don't know, perhaps we run into something from California. So yeah, as we taste this, Susan always keeps us on track. Dry, medium acid from Susan, low ABV, medium plus body, and medium finish. And as she notes, this body is fantastic. You can chew it. It's got texture. Yeah, it's fantastic. Ooh, it's very tasty. Um, it's all due to the training. Well, you've done well with your training for sure. Um, yeah, I still like the idea of Semillon. So let's talk about this, right? So if it's dry, yes. Medium acid, yes. Um, low ABV, medium plus body. So, and then a medium to long finish. Medium, yeah, medium finish. This is a wine that is presenting with a little bit more body, and that body would potentially come from obviously the varietal. But if we're talking about this body and say Sauvignon Blanc, would we get this kind of profile? I don't think so. And we would probably have a different expression of acidity, and that mineral note might come through a bit more if we're talking about Sancerre, for example. Let's talk about Riesling. Would this be the right acidic profile and textural profile for Riesling? Susan's coming in with Marsan and Roussan. I'm going to echo Olga's comment about this being very tasty. I agree. It's a bold white, Jan. You're right, and there is that. There's that savory note, that pork fat, that Anne and John note. There's some of that fruit savory kind of dichotomy in this wine. I don't think it is. As a result, I don't think this is totally Riesling. I think Riesling just seems to have a more piercing profile of acidity, and this, while it has acidity, is sort of expansive and sits within the overall volume of the wine. Is this Viognier? That kind of earthy element, that meaty element, that very savory note, I don't typically find in Viognier, so it would be a bit of a departure. So if this is Viognier, it doesn't have a full-blown character. There were just things we noted by way of the aroma that were or are part of a description for Viognier. Also, I think maybe a touch more acidity here than you would find typically in Viognier. And Olga, thank you, you nailed that. So too much acidity for Viognier, perhaps not enough for the same kind of profile of acidity for Riesling. So we can take those things out. A textured white, should we consider Chardonnay? Add that to the list with Marsan Roussan, and then add that list to Semillon blend. Add that to Chenin Blanc. These are all things we should consider. As a way in which to kind of dwindle things down, or at least take us one place or another, we were talking a moment ago about the New World in general profile. Are we talking about a New World wine? Are we talking about a funky Italian wine and an Old World wine? Where do you place this wine, and if you can place this wine, and how does that help you to narrow down the selection of where it might be? Susan, exactly. You should always consider Chardonnay because the Chardonnay has such a breadth of offering. Erica's asking whether the acidity would lead you away from Chardonnay, and that's really hard to say because Chardonnay can be really racy and lean, and it can also be quite rich and unctuous. And therefore a bit more ripe, and as a result too, with a malolactic fermentation and barrel aging, the acidity is kind of downplayed in wine. So you can say Chardonnay, but I mean, if you say Chardonnay, the onus is on you to then take it much further than that, because it has to be more specific to a particular place and what that place is showcasing. Olga has a gut feeling, and you never go against a gut. You at least acknowledge the gut feeling that it's Old World. Continues to change, continues to grow and morph a little bit. There is that. The acidity really continues to kind of just pierce toward the back end of the experience. Hey, Alex. Good evening to you, sir. Yeah, I wish I could taste with you too. and the love returns right back to you. Thank you so much for chiming in. I hope you're doing well. We should touch base soon. I'm not away from Chenin Blanc either. Alex, from your perspective, man, we're talking about a textured white wine that has medium plus acidity, and especially acidity that kind of pokes out at the back end. Some floral notes, white flowers. We've got some melon notes. We've got some citrus, but mostly peel. Not so much in the lime camp, more in the lemon camp. We've got this meatiness that I mistakenly describe as a fried egg roll with kind of a pork cabbage situation on the inside. Others have said pork fat. What do you think? What would be a varietal potential? Alex and I had a chance to work together at Charlie Trotter's back in the day, and he has since gone on to help beverage program there when I left, and then to import and carry some old fantastic vermouths and do some incredible stuff within the beverage world, and now is proprietor of a bonsai operation, which is really neat. White wine is, yes, Alex's white wine, and it is a little bit golden in color. It has a viscosity on the glass that's forming and creating sheets, as opposed to any tears or legs. Oh, I'm getting a little tear formation now, but uniquely kind of almost monolithic in its formation. So it has some weight. It's not presenting with a real high alcohol. There isn't a whole bunch of alcohol in the back end. Olga, for the Chenin Blanc, Chenin Blancs can have a little bit of a tropical quality, but it's all about, for me, there's a lanolin element, there's a viscosity, there's a high acid, and there's usually an apple quality, and that apple stuff is coming through pretty hard in this wine. There can be a real savory note too, and this body has got an oiliness to it. Yes, I agree, Susan, and that is something you find oftentimes from, say, something like Semillon. You can get some of that viscosity from Chenin Blanc. This is dry though, and a dry Chenin Blanc is going to be real ripping with acidity. It's interesting because some of the ripe profile on this, ooh, the acid's picking up a little bit. So maybe we are in Chenin Blanc world. The acid is picking up, and there is such a layered complexity to this wine that it makes you think about being in the sort of old world, and then the ripeness elements that we're picking up kind of take you to the new world, and this is fascinating. So, Jan, you're picking up lanolin. If you're picking that up and we're getting an oiliness, we have to really kind of lean into the potential that this is Chenin Blanc. So, Semillon, yeah, Susan, South African Chenin Blanc, just a basic Steen. This is definitely presenting better than a basic, easygoing South African or just a general Chenin Blanc. But that's where we should look, right? So if we're talking about Chenin Blanc, let's focus in on Marsanne Roussanne, Semillon blend, Chenin Blanc, because those are the grapes that are kind of still hanging out, and we have the Italian potential varietal that's out there. And I'm not sure where I would take that necessarily. But if we're talking about those three options, and you're talking about Chenin Blanc, let's go there first. The Loire Valley, the central part of the Loire Valley would be one space. You have Chenin Blanc that's grown in California and has been for a long time. You have Chenin Blanc that's grown in South Africa. Those are three places where you find Chenin Blanc consistently. And certainly it's grown other places. But from those three places, if this was Chenin Blanc, and we knew that, which of those three places would this be from? And I think I'm more, I don't think this is French, but that's part based on that just sort of appley note. That's just the yellow apple versus kind of a stewed kind of apple. And I would go South Africa. If this was a Central Coast kind of Chenin Blanc from California, that'd be pretty dang cool because it's a really nice wine. Susan's saying that she doesn't think this is Loire either, and that it's too complicated for an Italian white. And that complication is something that should lead us then to our next option, which is the blends. And is this a Marsanne Roussanne blend? So a southeastern France, kind of southern Rhone blend of white, or perhaps just a kind of Provençal blend of that. Maybe we're talking about a little bit of Viognier and Marsanne and Roussanne, and a blend that has this texture coming from the southern part of France. And that could be sometimes that Marsanne and Roussanne, but Marsanne can give you kind of that little bit of bubblegummy note that we picked up right in the beginning. I like that idea. And the collection of the variety of things we smelled and tasted is better explained in a way because of, or with, the idea of a blend than by a single varietal. Oh, Erica, that's great. It goes great and beautifully with limoncello cake leftovers. That's that you are well set. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, okay, so Chenin Blanc, probably more likely California or South African, maybe a Southern French, but really maybe just a kind of Provençal blend where you've got ripeness and it's a Rhone blend of whites that is Marsanne Roussanne, and maybe a little bit of Viognier thrown in there, per small percentage. That could be kind of neat. So a Languedoc kind of white blend. Chateauneuf de Pape Blanc, Alex. Yeah, it does have a presentation a little bit like that, for sure. The price point being $25, it's not a Chateauneuf de Pape Blanc, but it is maybe a baby version of that coming from the Southern Rhone, or like I said, maybe from further south in France. Yeah, I like that one a lot. And then back to Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc. Sometimes there's that little bit of fennel note for some folks, and then there's all this oily viscosity and texture. So we could be talking about a Bordeaux style blend, and I kind of like the idea for a moment of I like the idea of maybe a Washington State blend of Semillon and Washington State Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc and Muscadel. We used to carry a beautiful line from Beauty, and Beauty had a blend like that they were pulling from southeastern Washington State. That was really cool. It had texture, it had weight, it had some vibrancy, and it had a lot of aromatics. And so, yeah, very cool. So, recognizing, of course, it could be another thing in the world. I like where we got with the three options: the single varietal Chenin Blanc, the Southern Rhone kind of blend with maybe a Viognier, Roussanne, Marsanne, and then the Semillon blend. And Erica, I mean, I think you could throw out to Italy, and you can definitely keep it in the running. I think I'm not sure of where we would find this complexity and the variety in Italy. I think you'd get some of these elements from Italy, but like it would be like a Vermentino blend or something like that would have to explain this in Italy, and I'm not sure that that's it. Jan just threw out Vermentino. There we go. We're adding more to it. And funny enough, I'm just drinking it, so it's going down. This wine, I don't know. I'm not picking up Italy as strongly as I would pick up other places. And so, while I think this has a potential to be Chenin Blanc, like it fits, enough boxes are checked for Chenin Blanc to be considered, I'm okay with moving past Chenin Blanc. I like more the idea of a Southern Rhone, and I'm ignoring kind of the apple element that is pretty straight ahead Chenin Blanc, and the lanolin part that is straight ahead Chenin Blanc, and some of that meatiness which can be straight ahead Chenin Blanc. So let me do this, then I'll back up for half a second and consider Chenin Blanc and the Southern Rhone white blend, the Chateauneuf de Pape white kind of blend, and toss out the Semillon because I'm not sure that it's that. I don't think there's any indication of that. Although the Muscadel was nice for some of the aromatics. I like them better for the Viognier. So here's the deal. Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be right on this one, but Susan, you're putting your money on Chenin Blanc from South Africa 2018. And I think that's really good. That's a very good call. Because I'm dead split between that and Provençal blend of Viognier and Marsanne for sure, and maybe there's a little Roussanne in there, but Peak Pool or Claret, something like that. But textural, Roussanne gives you that texture too. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to say 2018. So it's a young wine. There's no indication that this is an older wine. And I'm going to say kind of a Marsanne Roussanne Viognier sort of white Rhone blend that's potentially from the Rhone, but also could be further south. Susan has about a 50% rate, so that's good. Maybe you might be exactly on it tonight. Candy is noting that Kevin's back off the road. Good, welcome home. And tasting this and thinking French blend. The Vermentino idea is interesting. I would expect it to be a touch lighter too, Eric. I get that. And Olga, you're going to go with the Provençal blend too? Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to stay. And I think I would be, if I was in Susan's camp, for example, totally fine with saying the Chenin Blanc from South Africa. It has a little bit more texture than I've come to expect, certainly at this price point, if we play the Chris Shirley game with this. So I'm going to go Rhone. All right, 2018, Southern Rhone or further south blend with all kinds of caveats. Could be Semillon blend, could be an Italian wine that we just don't know of. But in order to put ourselves on the map and to own a guess, that's where I'm going to head. And we should have stayed in Italy. This is Trebbiano. Wow. This is Italian, folks. Yes. From Abruzzo, 13% alcohol, one varietal, and it's Trebbiano. Wow, this Trebbiano in general is a varietal that doesn't usually make a wine with such complexity. This is pretty neat, isn't it? Wow. Fantastic. Trebbiano. So something to note, right? Trebbiano has some depth here. And guess what? Not 2018, this is 2020. So it's extremely young. And it is amazing Trebbiano. Susan, I think this is, I know for sure this is the best Trebbiano I've ever had. And at $25, that's really exciting. If you can have Trebbiano that can do this, that's special. And Olga, you're right, 100%. Trebbiano is overcropped, basic drinking, the wine equivalent of water, and it can be something that's just grown for production to distill and make into other spirits. This is pretty great wine. Organic, that's neat. Yeah, there's some deeper, richer soils here, and I had to get Tony to give me some more information on this particular wine because it's a pretty tasty one. Susan, when you're in Rome, you drink Trebbiano, and it's not like this. Yeah, like I said, I agree. This is Costa di Brenta from Abruzzo, so it looks like it's a little bit more specialized place. It comes in from our friends at Williams Corner, and they do a great job selecting some great wines that are unique and sing of place, and so this is a pretty special wine. The characters there. This is worthy. This is a wine that's perfect for this time. As we're ending summer squash and going into winter squash, this would play with all of that. We have a series of dishes that we're working on that are going to make that transition. We will revisit the idea and kind of maybe next week talk a bit more about this particular wine as I get more information about it. Yeah, we could definitely do kind of a recap post, Erica, as opposed to a pre-cap. That would give us too much information, but we'll see about that. I also want to note and kind of probe this hive of wine aficionados as we're beginning to look for a beverage person to join our team. We've grown over the past 18 months and need to add another person to our team in that regard, another dining manager. And I'm looking for someone to help in the kitchen leadership space too. We are wonderfully at a spot as we look to kind of open up more capacity inside that we need more people to help us do that. So if you know of professionals in this space that you think would be a great fit for our program, please send them my way. We're excited to be able to add positions at this time of year. And I think everybody is talking a little bit about shortages in labor. And while we are certainly no different than anybody else in the field, we're not just looking to add labor, we're looking to add really key members to our team, people who get our culture and want to be part of the exchange that we have with our guests, who want to use food and wine to build community and to foster connections with people. And so if you know folks that way, if you patronize another spot and you've noted somebody who's really great at what they do and they seem like they're ready for the next step in their career, please send them my way, as I want to add to our team and to grow it and to bring people on who can really bring something to contribute, as well as to find a space to further their own career. So that's something that I'm asking quite a bit of help from others that I know in this field, and I thought I would ask from you tonight too. So I agree, Olga, it gets better and better by the sip. It's a really nice wine. It's really special wine. It has the smoothness to it, and then that acidity at the finish just kind of brightens things and brings it right back around, making you want to have another sip. Well, my apologies once again for holding you up as we started, and we'll try to figure out the connectivity issue a little bit more next time. But until then, be well, enjoy what's remaining of this bottle. I have every faith it will go quickly, and I will talk to you soon, next Thursday or sooner. Cheers, everybody.